Hello everybody, I'm back for another vlog. I don't have any beer because I drank it trying to record the vlog. This was going to be earlier. I tried it the other night. I had a beer and everything. Then the phone cut off the recording because I'm recording this on a phone. Not impressed. So I'm trying again. Got a lot to talk about. A lot! Okay, first things first. Not Saturday just gone, but the Saturday before, the 12th, the Great Derby Board Game Bash. Enormous success. Really pleased with it. For the first event we've run that's an all-dayer, we got exactly 100 people through the door. We ended up the day in profit, which means we're going to be running another one in February, probably towards middle end of February. More details about that. That's amazing! We got 100 people through the door. It was great. Loads of games got played. I tweeted a load about it, as much as I could between playing stuff. Huge thank you to everybody who came along and supported us. Oh, it's just been the best. Which contrasts a bit, unfortunately, with our night we used to run at the Bean Cafe. This month will be the last one. Because, quite simply, they just decided that we're not going to run it there anymore. Thanks, guys. Yeah, that was abrupt. So, we need a new venue, and we've got like a month to get one. I have faith that we'll find somewhere. We have to. It's going to happen. So there's that. Now, games I've been playing. Well, Glass Road. Glass Road has suddenly become one of my all-time favourite games. Get this, right? It's a Euro game that does the thinking for you. It plays over 4 turns, and it uses the same role selection thing as Mission Red Planet. But instead of playing a card, you choose 5 out of 15 for each turn. It's so good. It's a quick, intelligent Euro game. It's not too heavy. It's not too much about numbers. And you've basically got like a little calculator in effect, like a dial that ticks around when you use resources that calculates everything for you. It's so good. And of course I go to get a copy and it's not in print anymore. Anyway, I have a friend who loves it, so I'm going to play it at every possible opportunity with him. So that's Glass Road. Look it up. It's really cool. Next, speaking of Mission Red Planet, I may have mentioned before that I think the discovery cards in Mission Red Planet are totally pointless. What they are is you use them to sort of bluff. They can increase or decrease the final scoring of the game in certain areas. But the game's only 10 turns, so it's not really long enough to actually bluff properly. They just seem like a distraction and a waste of time. I took them out for my last game. Didn't miss them. I think it actually works better without them, because they're an extra element that's underdeveloped and unnecessary, so there's that. I'll be interested to see if they change anything for the new version of Mission Red Planet that Fantasy Flight Games are producing at some point in the future. Oh, and that leads on again. Fantasy Flight Games, they brought back Netrunner as Android Netrunner, and I bought a second-hand copy of the core box for like 10 quid off a friend of mine. Netrunner. Now, so far I've got as far as reading the rules and then trying to figure out whether the better rubbish pun is Nerdrunner or Netrunner. I'm not sure. You decide. Anyway, Netrunner. Hopefully going to be playing that with my wife. It's a really clever asymmetrical card game. If you've not played it yet, do. Because the clever thing about it is the theme is really strong. One person's a corporation, the other person's a runner, otherwise known as a hacker. And they've got to like hack into the different parts of the corporation, but that is the different parts of your card system. Your hand, your draw pile, your discard pile. Really nicely put together, really cleverly themed. The funny thing is though, because this game is quite old now, I mean this is the reissue which is recent, it's got a cyberpunk theme. And that's fine, but cyberpunk can feel a little quaint in places these days, what with so much of it coming true. So it's got a funny charm to it, where bits of it are sort of like, you know, yeah, that's kind of not going to happen, and bits of it are sort of, yeah, that's already happened, or that's, you know, that's pretty much as predicted. It's, I don't know, it's amusing. I've been playing tons of War of the Ring. Oh, War of the Ring is brilliant. It's my most played 3-hour game, and it's gradually creeping up to be my most played game of this year, which is insane, because I nearly sold it because I couldn't get the damn thing on the table. I'm playing a first edition copy, second edition rules, second edition card deck. Oh, it's just so damn great. There's just something really nice about the way it tells the kind of the main story of the Lord of the Rings. And there's just lots of little asymmetrical details. The Free Peoples have finite armies, and they've actually got to encourage them to go to war before you can use them. The Shadow Peoples are really easy to get to war, and they're infinite armies. You've got to retreat into a siege and slow down the battles to give you time to move the Ring Bearers to Mount Doom to get rid of the ring. It's such a good game. It's so well designed and so well thought out. And the combat is, yeah, it's kind of roll and get a 5 or a 6. But yeah, it's just... I love when a game has been... You can tell somebody's playtested it and playtested it, and every card is a moment from the story, and it makes sense. They're not just a name slapped on an event. You know, the characters... Excuse me. The characters are all really cool, and like Gandalf can become Gandalf the White, and Aragorn can become... Strider can become Aragorn, and it's got this nice system where you roll dice and they tell you what actions you can have, and each die represents like a few different actions, and you want to move the ring bearers, but the more you move them, the easier it is for the shadow player to hunt them down and corrupt them. And there's just lots of nice mechanics going off. I'm a big fan of that one. And I need to play as the Sauron forces at some point, because I've only ever played as the Free Peoples, really, which is quite hard. Right, okay. More things going on in the world of games. Honestly, a lot of things recently have been me looking at games and going, wow, that's expensive. Because I played Space Hulk, 3rd edition Space Hulk, the nice 25th anniversary collector's edition that came out. I played that for the first time this year today. I always expect to pick up Space Hulk and crack it open and play it and go, ooh, I remember that being better. You know, like those games you play from a childhood, or like a movie you've not watched in ages and you watch it and go, ooh, this isn't as good as I thought. But Space Hulk keeps on delivering. It keeps on giving me what it should. It's a game that I thought would get old and feel old and rubbish. But no, it's a really good game, really tense and all about clever positioning, which makes the Death Angel card game a lot higher up in my appreciation now that I've played Space Hulk again, because Death Angel distills some of the elements out of it, like the positioning of the Marines in the corridor. Does a much better job than I gave it credit for. Anyway, point is, I spent about 60 quid on that back in the day, and that was a lot to swallow. I mean, when you look at the game, it's bloody hell, it's 60 quid's worth. I mean, you get some really nice stuff in that box. But then, that was years ago, and that was high back then. These days, I probably wouldn't blink so much at that, you know, because a lot of games are creeping up towards the 50, 60, 70 mark, where it used to be the 30, 40 mark. Chaos Ball, right? Well, cool mini or not in general. Chaos Ball, 70-something quid. And I wonder if what's happening is Kickstarter games are breaking through the stretch goals and adding more cool stuff into the box, which is great if you've kickstarted it, but if you buy the retail copy, it sticks the price way up. I mean, Chaos Ball I'd pay 40, 50 quid for, but 70-something quid. That game has got to be special. Really special. Rivet Wars was another one. I banged on about this a lot. It's a filler game that costs 70 quid, and it's annoying me that a lot of reviewers are not mentioning this. They're going like, oh yeah, it's a really good filler game, it's a really good quick battle game, it's got nice miniatures, it's really neat, and they're not saying, oh, by the way, it costs like 3 times as much as every other filler game. Oh, and the expansions will make it better and are going to be necessary because we've got bored of it. Yeah, games are expensive, but I think Kickstarter might be pushing the price of games up, and mostly because of components, which then leads me to wonder what the point of components that are fancy really is. I mean, miniatures are not necessary to a game, and yet more games are getting like nice miniatures. And I remember back in the day, Fantasy Flight used to be the daddy. They used to bring out these big coffin box games and go, there you go, there's all your figures and your fancy dice and your tons of cards. There, have that and have fun. And that used to be the big event. And now they don't seem to be doing that so much. And instead it's these great big atom bomb Twitter games where it's like, Twitter games? Where'd that come from? Kickstarter games. And they're dropping and it's like, boom! There's a game with loads of components and a rule book that needs replacing immediately, and a crap load of errata, and a game that's not play tested. But hey, it's got all the miniatures, isn't that great? And yeah, that's not exclusive to Kickstarter. Fantasy Flight goofed really badly before now, and other companies do. But yeah, I'm getting a bit worried that, you know, these games are arriving at retail and they are sitting on the shelf because people are like, You're kidding me, I'm not paying that much. Unfortunate, really, especially for retailers, because everybody who kickstarted it have already got a copy, and everybody else is like, that's expensive. Now, that takes me, I'm going to go back briefly to Space Hulk. Yeah, I really now want to play Incursion, which is a Kickstarter that's not going to turn up at retail. Hooray, that's annoying. I know someone with an old copy of Incursion. I'll probably just play that with like the little cardboard standees. Same game. But I did like the look of the new version. You know, it looked like they'd fiddled and worked on it and really finished it off a bit, you know, which would have been nice. No beer. Cup of tea. So we had another D6 plus beer event at the Furnace. Went really well. Monday nights at the New Zealand, getting a bit quiet recently. I have felt flagging a little with games of late, but I have gone back to painting. Dreadfully there, I shelved it when Seth was born because I knew I wouldn't have time to paint. And it's a shame. It's a big project, and I really wanted to finish it, but it just wasn't going to happen. So I was like, no, I'll put that to one side and I'll leave it. So instead I've picked up one miniature, which is the Wizwar Expansion Wizard, the little purple skull-headed wizard guy, and I'm working on that, and it's nice to get painting again. I'm not amazing, I'm alright at painting, I'm competent, you know, I can paint something to look alright. It'll look nice, you know, it'll look better than grey plastic. And this is one of the problems also with miniatures. Space Hulk did it right. Red for the Marines, purple for the Gene Stealers. You don't have to paint it, but a lot of them you get these little grey pieces. And it's like, okay, you can complain about cubes, but a little grey miniature is kind of just as bad, isn't it? You know, okay, a little orange box isn't a warrior, but a big grey thing shaped like a guy is still a big grey thing. It's not that great. You know, I would quite like if they started casting miniatures in colours, rather than, you know, like Cyclades does that. Cyclades does it, that's fine. But I'm getting a little tired of, like, you know, here's a little grey chap. It's like, okay, there's detail there, but if I don't paint it, then it'll just be grey, won't it? At least Rivet Wars did green and grey in the sort of classic Axis and Allies colours, so that's cool. Not sure what else is on my mind recently. Played Evil Baby Orphanage the other day. I'm not sure how much game there is in that game. I think Weird Miniatures basically made it with confusing terminology rather than using just straight up game terminology. You know, there's like unsupervised and supervised stuff, and it's like, it should have been a simpler game than it is in terms of the wording, so maybe I need another run at it, but at the same time, it did seem to be very random. So I'll have to see what else comes out of that one. Had a nice idea, but I'm now a bit, I don't know, I almost feel like I'd rather be playing Flux, and that's not something I say very often, although I do own Flux. Is there anything to cap this off with? Oh yeah, there's rumblings that there may be a podcast in the works. I'm hoping to work with some other people on UK Gaming Media Network and do a proper podcast. It's just going to be like a few topics a week and maybe 3 or 4 people just having a bit of knockabout conversation for 30 minutes to an hour or something like that. Not the same people every time, because I'm really getting sick of one thing. There's no discussion on my YouTube channel, and I need more discussion on my channel and on Twitter, which is @CardcoreGamer, you can't get it wrong. I want more discussion, I want more opinions back and forth. I don't want to just be talking at you and talking at you and talking at whoever's out there. I'd like some feedback, I'd like a bit of back and forth, you know. It's boring just talking about from my point of view. I want more chatter, and I think a podcast would help, with few people throwing ideas back and forth and disagreeing. You know, it's nice to disagree and have different opinions. Anyway, I'm going to finish off my cup of tea and do something else. Not sure what my next review was going to be, but I'm sure I'll come up with that at some point soon. Anyway, this has been me, as usual, Cardcore Gamer for the website of Doom, doing my vlog, and I will see you next time.